Bienvenidos a esta entrevista bilingüe. Nuestra conversación fluirá entre dos idiomas, inglés y español. Lo hemos hecho de manera intencional con el objetivo de atraer y unir ambos idiomas. Nuestra misión es clara, construir un puente entre comunidades e integrar audiencias, demostrando que la mentalidad emprendedora y la ambición por el éxito son universales. Únete a nosotros en esta entrevista para descubrir las estrategias y la pasión que nos unen a todos en el camino hacia el triunfo. Somos DC Business Incubator, el club de las mentes brillantes. Welcome to DC Business Incubator, el club de las mentes brillantes. Si te acabas de conectar y sientes esta energía, significa que este es un llamado para ti. Are you ready to stop making excuses and start taking intentional steps towards the life you want? Mi nombre es Isabel Orbe y hoy vamos a extraer el ADN del éxito de una mente maestra. Veamos quién es nuestro invitado el día de hoy. Murray Hidary es un reconocido emprendedor tecnológico, artista y compositor, un verdadero visionario que habita en la fusión de la tecnología y la conciencia. Fue cofundador de la plataforma de tecnología Web y This, que revolucionó el mercado digital. Y hoy es el creador de MindTravel. MindTravel es un movimiento global que utiliza la música en piano y la meditación guiada para llevar a las audiencias a un profundo estado de conexión y claridad mental. Murray, it's an honor to have you here. Permíteme felicitarte por el éxito que has manifestado. Eres una verdadera inspiración. You are one of the first masterminds to share your life blueprint. Thank you for the trust and thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Isabel. I look forward to the conversation.
Murray, estoy muy emocionada, de verdad. He tenido la oportunidad de participar, de ser partícipe en las experiencias de MindTravel. Pero obviamente cuando uno está en la experiencia, está disfrutando del momento, ve el producto final. ¿Cómo ha sido todo esto? ¿Cómo empezó la idea? ¿Cuál ha sido el proceso para llegar hasta aquí?
You know, there's a story about Picasso. I remember reading Pablo Picasso, the famous artist, and he was sitting in a restaurant and somebody came over and said, hey, can you draw something for me on this napkin? He said, okay, I'll draw something on the napkin. And then she went to take it, and he said, that'll be $10,000. And she said, oh, wait, you just drew a little simple drawing. How could it be $10,000? He said, it only took me a moment, but it really took me a lifetime. And for me, that's really what MindTravel, the journey has been. It came together quickly, but it was a lifetime in the making. It really brings together all the things I love the most: music, meditation, nature, and community. These are the elements of MindTravel. So it really was a lifetime in the making from when I was very small to today.
Te lo creo completamente. Cuando uno está en este tipo de emprendimientos, cuando uno es un emprendedor, tiene un proceso, tiene caídas, tiene levantadas, tiene éxitos, todo es un proceso. Pero al final, la gente solo ve el producto final. Entonces me parece increíble esta historia de Picasso. En realidad lo muestra todo lo que uno está en todo el proceso haciendo, esto que vale la pena llevarlo a las demás personas. Cuando uno es un emprendedor y tiene estas levantadas, subidas y bajadas en la vida, ¿qué es lo que tú les recomiendas hacer en el proceso para que no pierdan esta motivación? ¿Qué es lo que te llevó a ti a seguir con la motivación adelante?
You know, for me, I started my first business as an entrepreneur when I was very young. I was 22 years old. I had just finished university. I had a degree in music. I studied music. But I didn't know how I was going to make money with music when I was 22. And so I taught students privately, but I had bigger visions. And I was talking to my older brother. When we were kids, while I was going to music camp in the summer, my brother was going to computer camp to learn how to code. So he was the computer one, and I was the creative one. And we were talking, and I was like, I'm not sure what I want to do. And he's three years older than me. So he was 25, I was 22. And he said, have you heard of the internet? Now, this was 1994. So it was a valid question. Today, you're like, what do you mean, have you heard of the internet? But he asked me, and I said, well, I think I heard about it. What is it? And he showed it to me. And this was the early days. And we were both just so inspired by this new technology that it was connecting people in new ways. And we decided we were just going to start a company. Now, part of what is so good about starting a company very young is because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
You know, and we had a real belief that we could figure it out. We come from family of entrepreneurs. My father, my grandfather, my mother all started businesses. So that was natural for us. But starting it young is really helpful because you have such a confidence because you also don't know how many things can actually go wrong. And so there's a real benefit in starting young. But no matter when you start, having that belief in yourself, not the belief that you know what's going to happen, because none of us know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty, especially when you're doing something new. But the belief and the trust is that you can handle whatever arises. And that really is the key thing, because there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be problems. Actually, there must be challenges. There must be problems. Otherwise, we're not doing something that's different, something that's revolutionary. And so having the trust and the belief in yourself that you can figure it out. Maybe you don't have the answer right now, but you can figure it out.
Exactamente, ese es el trabajo que se logra con el tiempo y el paso a paso, ¿verdad? Pero hay mucha confusión en los emprendedores o en las personas en común, en donde esa conexión mente, cuerpo, alma está en un desequilibrio totalmente fuerte. Y más ahora con la tecnología, que uno se centra y se queda ahí enfocado horas y horas y horas, y tienes una sobrecarga de información que a la final desinforma. Entonces, ¿cómo logras esta conexión cuando tienes tantas ideas, cuando no sabes si es que es lo que quieres hacer, pero tienes la idea que crees que va a ser brillante, pero al mismo tiempo te saturas y no sabes cómo lograrlo? ¿Cómo lo puedes hacer de una mejor manera?
So, a few things. The most important thing is to take a step, at least one step in the right direction. We always think, oh, I want to figure it all out first, and then I'll start. But we never can figure it all out. We have to have enough of an idea, and then just start, and then the answers come after you start. The answers always come after you start. They don't come before. And that's the tricky part of it. So that's the most important thing I tell people. Now, the other thing is what you're thinking about, this new idea. Is it aligned with your values, what's important to you? Because when it gets really hard, if it's not something that is really meaningful to you, it's going to be too easy to give up. Okay? Now, for me, look, I was a musician. I loved music. But then I went into technology. But how could that be? Why would I have an interest in technology when I loved music? Because I found something that was valuable to me in creating businesses in technology. Because the internet was connecting people. And the value of connection is what is in my heart. That's what music does for me. Music is connection. Technology can also be connection. And that's how I experienced it. When we built companies, we were connecting people. For different reasons in our different businesses, we were connecting people. But that's what I loved about it. And that's what got me excited every day. So you have to find what is the value that's going to keep you getting up in the morning, especially when it's difficult, when there's a lot of challenges. Because the thing with being an entrepreneur, it's not easy. It's not for everybody. You know, we live, we say everyone can start a business, yes, everyone can, but you really have to fight for it. You really have to give it the oxygen. You have to give it life. And like being a parent, it takes everything from you, you know? So it's not for everyone. And if you do it, you got to give it your all. And so it's going to test you. It's going to test how resilient are you. It tries to push you down, and how can you get back up? It tries to push you down, and how can you get back up again and again and again? And in a way, that kind of challenge for a real entrepreneur, it is exciting because it tests you. You know, when I was 18, I took a trip around the world. It was one of the best years of my life. I just traveled the whole world on a bicycle by myself. And I went all around the world, 10,000 miles riding on a bicycle.
In a bicycle?
On a bicycle, not a motorcycle, a bicycle, una bicicleta, okay? And then I did amazing things that challenged me, that challenged my body, my mind, my spirit. I climbed mountains. I went on incredible physical hikes and long distances to test my body and my mind. Because at 18, I wanted to know, what am I made of? Where's my strength? You know, it's not just physical. It's not just mental. It's a combination of everything.
Algo que me he dado cuenta con muchas personas que tienen ya éxito ahora como tú, es que hay una conexión, hay un trabajo, hay una disciplina, hay un conocimiento interno, que este conocimiento interno que llevas dentro es lo que se refleja en las acciones de tus proyectos.
Sí, it's true. And, you know, in a way, it's also a bit of a delusion. It's also a little crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Because we really believe we can't fail. Now, of course, some people are going to fail. I have had failure. I've had many companies, not all of them worked. But I still think I can always do it. And then at some point, okay, you know what? It's time to put this one to sleep. Okay, you know, and that's okay.
Esa es otra cosa que hacemos los emprendedores, que tenemos una idea y somos tan creativos. Tenemos una idea, viene otra, al paso viene otra y al otra, y llega un momento en que si no te enfocas, estás saturado con tantas ideas. ¿Cómo llegas a enfocar? ¿Cómo le das prioridad a una sin dejar la otra? ¿O cómo haces este engranaje por ahí?
So that's something I have had a problem with, been a pitfall for me also. So, you know, the first thing is just starting and doing it. Most people have an idea. Actually, everyone has an idea. Everyone has an idea at some point. They have an idea for a company, a product. They have an idea for a book. They have an idea for a movie. Everyone has an idea. But most people don't do it. Most people don't take the step. It's too hard. They don't know. They don't figure it out. Okay. Now, if you do that, then all these other ideas come. Now, one of my weaknesses is I love ideas and I love creating. So sometimes I could do too much and then it ends up hurting the project. So one of the things I've gotten better at over the years, simplifying. Keep it clean. Okay, this is a good idea, but let's wait. Let's wait till this one is ready, then we'll do this one. So keeping it simple. Do you remember, of course, the story when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, yes? Mm-hmm. After they fired him, and then he came back to Apple. What did he do? He looked at the company. He said, there's too many products. We're doing everything. Too much. Too many products. Too confusing. He simplified it, and Apple went through the roof. So we have to keep it simple. You know, for the consumer, for the customer, it's too noisy. It's a noisy world. Everyone's trying to get their attention. So if you come and it's too complicated, it could be amazing. But if it's too complicated, if you can't communicate it clearly, they're gone. And so that's why we keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Solamente con toda tu experiencia y todo lo que me vas contando, para mí tiene un gran significado y veo de dónde sale y cuál es el camino de MindTravel. Porque he tenido, como decía en un principio, he tenido la oportunidad de estar en estas experiencias y son únicas. Y ahí veo dónde conectas la tecnología con tu pasión por la música. Cuéntanos un poquito más cómo es que se desarrolla MindTravel y llega a hacer esta experiencia para las personas.
You know, I said MindTravel was a lifetime in the making. Yes, that's true. You know, I had music since I was 5 years old, playing music. I was a music major. I studied to be a classical composer, pianist. Then I found meditation. When I was a teenager, I found meditation. And that was a very important thing for me. Then I put meditation and music together. And for many, many years, that was my personal practice. It's what I did at home by myself. It's what I did in the office during the technology companies. You know, in my 20s and 30s, I ran these technology companies. So I went to the office every day in New York City on Park Avenue, a beautiful office. And we had hundreds of people there. And sometimes they would say, wait, where's Murray? We need him to sign something. Oh, he's in his piano room. So I had a piano in my office. And that was my practice. That was my discipline. That was my way to reset. So at the end of the day, I would play, and it was music and meditation together. And then all the stress from the day, all the challenge, I could, and then I'm ready for the next day, right? Very fast-paced, all the fires in a technology company, in a startup. Now I can have a new day. So it was always a practice for me. It was always something I did to keep
your mind clear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went through a very challenging time. In my mid-30s, around 35, we had a really tragedy in my family. My little sister was killed in an accident, and she was only 23, and it was devastating, of course. And I didn't know how I was going to get through that. We were very, very close. So I turned to music, and I would just sit at the same piano, and I would play, and all of that came out. And I saw how powerful music can be for something so intense, intense grief, intense loss, intense pain. The music really helped me. It really saved me. So something so intense like grief, but also the day-to-day, stress, it could handle all of that. And that's when I made the decision, I want to do this for my life. I want to share this experience. And that was a difficult moment because I was very successful. I was very good at being an entrepreneur. I had already started 4 or 5 companies at that point over the years. We took one public, we sold one, sold another one. Okay, so I loved it. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of challenge. It pushed me. But I said, what am I really here for? Am I here to start companies my whole life? Or is there something else? And that's when I sat and I listened and I said, I need to share this experience that I do for myself. Now I'm going to share it with others. And that's a shift in life that I think many people will go through, especially if they've had some success, to create something from success to significance. From success to significance. My friend Dov Seidman talks about that a lot, my dear friend. And that's something that I realized I don't want to have a successful life only. I want to have a significant life.
Eso es lo que muchas personas creo que llegamos a confundir. Que eres exitoso cuando lo tienes todo, cuando el dinero está ahí, cuando tienes lo que te imaginas, lo material. Pero tienes toda la razón. ¿Para qué es lo que estás aquí? La razón por la que estás aquí es para ser feliz.
Exactly. I read a wonderful quote from the Dalai Lama. You know the Dalai Lama. So he said, if you want to be happy, make other people happy.
That's true.
Okay. I said, it sounds a little silly. Okay. And then I tried it. And I was like, he's onto something. But it's true with all things like that. If you want to feel love in your life, what do we always do? We say, oh, I can't find the right person. Oh, I'm a victim. I can't find the right person. No one loves me. No one. What do? Flip it. Create love. Create love for other people. And all of a sudden you'll feel love. And the same with anything, with joy, with love, with happiness, anything we want to create. For ourselves, we create for others. And so that's what I learned. And that's what MindTravel became. It was like, how can I create wonder? How can I create beauty? How can I create expansion? How can I create love, connection, right, for other people? And what happened was I felt it all myself. And, especially when you go through something so difficult, where you see the brutal, the ugly part of life. You see your loved one, you see the dark side of what's possible. Mm-hmm. All you want to do is create light. All you want to do is create magic for people. That's the opportunity. And when you do that and you lean into it, and we talk about success to significance, and the core of significance is service, to be of service. How can I serve that person? And by serving someone else, we're serving ourselves.
Es sumamente cierto todo lo que dices. Y para las personas que nos están mirando, el ambiente y la energía que puedo extraer de ti me calma, me siento en realidad que tienes una energía muy positiva, muy relajante. ¿Cómo llegas a ese punto? ¿Cómo fue el Murray de antes al Murray de ahora? He estado en las experiencias y cuando me he acercado a hablar contigo, siempre es este ambiente donde toda la gente se siente tan tranquila de conversar contigo, siente esa paz, porque eso es lo que tú emites, es paz. Entonces, ¿cómo logras este equilibrio?
I don't know. It's not natural because I grew up, I'm a New Yorker. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, in the heart of New York. And, New York, where everything's fast. We walk fast. We talk fast. We eat fast. We do everything fast. It's not a calm city. It's not a calm lifestyle. But something happened when I was like a teenager, and I yearned. I wanted to be in nature. I grew up with no nature. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Brooklyn, the concrete jungle, no trees, just concrete, And then my mother sent me to a camp for the summer in nature. And we went canoeing, we went hiking, camping, rock climbing.
La mejor experiencia.
And my life changed. And then nature became everything for me. The mountains, the ocean, all of it. And then I found meditation, as I mentioned. I found meditation when I was a teenager. I sensed that there was something bigger. I grew up in a very closed world, small community, religion, beautiful, close, love, but it was parochial, It wasn't to see the world. So I sensed there was something bigger. And meditation and music was my path to experience that. And then just learning about yourself, learning about the nature of the mind. We talk about awakening. Mm-hmm. We talk about evolving. What is it to awaken? What does that even mean? For me, I think, and for many people, it's awakening to the idea that there's a voice in your head, and that voice in your head is not the true you. That is the awakening moment. So our whole lives, there's a voice in there. We don't even notice it because it just is.
Tú estás hablando de esa vocecita que cuando vas a hacer algo te dice, no lo hagas, no lo hagas, no lo hagas.
Exactly. And it's always commenting. It's a commentator, always. It's like you're watching the football game and the guy's telling you,
yeah.
We have one, always.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that is happening, but that voice is not who we really are. And once we can separate that's an awakening moment. Because when you're sleeping, you don't know you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. Right? When you're sleeping, you don't know you're sleeping. When you wake up, I was sleeping. Okay. So when we wake up and see, now I can observe this voice. And I can observe the nature of the mind. And now I know it's not, what it's saying is not the truth. It's not the only reality. It's an opinion. It's an opinion. Okay.
Entonces, cuando tú hablas de esta vocecita, es de lo que hablamos muchas veces, lo que ahora está, lo que resuena en muchas de las redes sociales es ese autocontrol.
Yeah.
El control de tu yo interior, saber qué es lo que escuchas, qué es lo que no, discernir y para adelante.
Exactly. We're on autopilot, right? Autopilot. And it's with our thoughts and with our emotions. Now, emotions are very important. We are feeling beings. Sentimos, okay? We feel through life. So we don't want to suppress it, push it down. No, we want to feel it, but we want it to move through. Okay. I feel sadness now. Okay. But it doesn't mean anything, right? We can feel sadness, but it doesn't mean that we are sad. We're feeling sadness. Doesn't mean I'm a sad person.
Hay que darle tiempo a las emociones. Hay que dejarlas salir.
You give it time.
No quedarse en
like
ellas.
A wave. Like a wave in the ocean. Comes through. Now, when you start to observe, you develop patience, and you just are watching like a movie. You're watching life happen. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And then things calm down. Because now it's like watching a movie. Okay.
Y estoy segurísima que este control, este autocontrol y conocerte a ti profundamente te ha ayudado tanto en la parte no solo con tu entorno cercano, sino en el control de las emociones en el trabajo. Cuando tiene un emprendedor, como decías tú desde el principio, altos y bajos, no todo es color de rosa, y llegan momentos en donde uno quiere botar la toalla.
You know, when we're in a crisis, when there's a problem, who is the effective leader and who is not an effective leader? Well, the person who is like this, up and down, excited, is that good leadership? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But the person who is steady, who just handles the problem. Okay, what's the problem? What's the options? What's the best solution? Do it. Okay. That's the person we trust. Because they're not identifying with the problem and going for the ride. You know, when there's a storm, okay, like today there's a big storm.
Yeah.
When there's a storm, everything is chaos. But the ground is solid. The ground is solid. So we just have to remember, no matter what's happening, the ground is always solid. And that's going to always, we say, ground yourself, feel grounded. That's literally what we're saying. The ground is solid. Let everything go around you. Okay. So,
¿Ha habido algún momento en el transcurso de tu carrera en donde digas, ya no más, ya no más, no, esto no es para mí? Donde todo, la pasión por la música y todo, digas, ya no, voy a empezar otra cosa.
I mean, it's happened. Sometimes I have that feeling, but sometimes that's a feeling in a moment of weakness. Like I'm identifying with the fear. You know, I'm believing the fear. And so then I'll be like, maybe I should give up. You know, it's natural to feel this way. Okay, we all feel this way at times. But then we have to just take a step back, create some space. You know, we say the saying like, sleep on it. You know, there's truth to that. Because especially when we're tired, especially when there's a lot going on, the mind's not thinking clearly. Reset, get a good night's sleep, drink a lot of water, breathe, meditate, go for a walk. These are important, simple things, but they're very effective because they let us find a calmness, and now we can make a more healthy decision and not a reactive decision. Right.
¿Cuáles son tus 3 hábitos innegociables? los que haces todos los días para mantenerte enfocado y seguir adelante.
One thing every day for yourself, for your body, mind, or spirit. So it could be going to the gym, it could be meditating, it could be going for a walk, it could be having a meaningful conversation with a friend, something for yourself that's going to be taking care of yourself in a good way. The other thing is something that's going to advance what's important to you, right? Taking a step for the project, whatever the project is. Could be a business, it could be a side project, but taking a step in the right direction. Not something urgent, something important, right? You understand the difference? Because there's a lot of urgent things.
Yeah, everything is.
Everything's urgent. Everything, oh, now. Okay. Put that aside and do what's really going to make a difference, what's important for the business or the project. And then the third thing is something that's going to allow you to grow in a new way. So that's where reading or watching or listening to a podcast or something that's going to expand your mind and let you grow in a new way. Why is that so important? Especially as an entrepreneur. What do we do when we're entrepreneurs? We connect dots in new ways. You read about this, you see this, you're like, wait a second, what if I put that together? So we put together things that other people didn't do, right? Look at MindTravel. I'm a pianist. There's a lot of pianists in the world. Okay, but I also love nature. Y
la meditación.
And meditation. So I'm putting different dots together, creating an experience that nobody has ever done before. No one has ever experienced using technology as the medium. Not because it's cool technology, because it serves the experience, right? So that's connecting dots in new ways. So that third thing is do something that's going to introduce you to something new. And especially, what's a podcast that you would never listen to? Listen to it. What's a movie you would never watch? Watch it. So like every now and then I'll watch, I'll listen to or watch a podcast or a video of like something I would never, like what's one of them? There's one, it's a famous a podcast, Call Me Daddy, I think is the name of it. It's like this woman, they talk about sex and women relationships. I'm like, I would never listen to that. I'm going to listen. So I listened to 2 and I learned something. Okay, great. I'm just saying as an example, do something that's out of your normal everyday, out of your comfort zone.
Que
Try
te saque de tu zona de confort. Exactamente.
Exactly. Yeah.
Y todo esto, bueno, cuando hablamos de todas estas cosas que tú dices, haz una cosa por tu negocio, una cosa por día, estamos ahí hablando como del principio de Pareto, que te dice que hagas el 20% de tus acciones y las haces con disciplina, van a tener un 80% de tus resultados. Sabemos que los emprendedores somos multifunción y al mismo tiempo a veces tenemos el trabajo y queremos la idea y estamos en una mezcla loca de todo el tiempo. ¿Cómo haces, tú, en el principio, para las personas que nos están viendo y que tú les sirves como guía, en el principio, ¿cómo haces para que esta conexión se enfoque más en tu proyecto? ¿En qué momento puedes decir, ya voy a dejar mi trabajo? ¿Cuándo recomiendas tú que alguien diga, ahora sí me voy a dedicar a esto?
With the 80-20 rule, there's different ways that it shows up. Like for me, I practice the piano all the time. Now, if you're playing a piece, let's say the piece is 10 minutes long. Okay, that's the length of the piece. So if you practice it, it will take you 10 minutes to practice it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. If I want to play it twice, it takes me 20 minutes. If I want to practice it 3 times, that's 30 minutes. That's a long time. Now, it's important to practice the whole thing, but is that really the best impact? What if I look at the difficult sections of the 10-minute piece. Maybe out of 10 minutes, there's 30 seconds here that's really hard. There's 1 minute here that's hard. And there's another 30. So now 2 minutes of 10 minutes is really difficult. So what if I only play these sections? Now I can play them. So what's that? 2 minutes of 10 minutes, 20%. But now in 10 minutes, I can play the difficult sections 5 times.
5 veces.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do it for 30 minutes, I can do them many, many times. Now the difficult sections are going to be easy. So when I play the 10 minutes, so more effective, right? That's more effective practice. I can get so much more done this way. So that's an example of how I think about being smart and not just amount of time, right? And that's for music, but you can do that with many, many things.
Sí.
You know, it's true when we go to the gym. You know, we don't have to be there for 1 hour, 2 hours in the gym. You can do intense, high-impact workouts, and then you could be done in 20 minutes. You know, we can do this in many different areas, you know, of life.
Exactamente, porque bueno, uno piensa que haciendo diferentes acciones todos los días, hoy voy a llamar a tal persona, pero eso es una acción súper sencilla que puedes hacerlo fácilmente. Uh-huh. Pero si dices, hoy voy a sacar un negocio adelante, entonces ya te pones un poquito más de riesgo. Yeah.
And with business, it's all of us, you know, we become victim to the to-do list. Yes, there's always so many things to do, but it's really looking at that to-do list. What are the 20% of things that are really going to move your business? The other things, okay, it'd be nice to do them, but don't get drowned by all these to-do list items. Find the things that are really going to move the needle for your business, right? And that's usually 20% of what's on the list. Find out which ones, put them on the top, and do those.
Y ahora que estamos con toda la tecnología, saturados de información y todo, ¿cómo llegas tú a las personas? ¿Cómo haces el manejo de tus redes sociales? ¿Cuándo es recomendable ya ponerse enfrente de la cámara para llegar a más personas?
Social media, especially Instagram, Facebook, for me, for my audience, is very powerful, very important. That's where we communicate, you know, with the audience. We let them know, you know, music, it's funny, music is something we hear. So on social media is something really you see. It's videos, that's the most important part of social media is what you're looking at. But music is what you hear. I realized this many years ago. How do I make music something you see as well as hear? And then, of course, feel. So when you go to a MindTravel, it looks like something. Yes, it sounds like something. There's something very powerful about the way it sounds. But first you see it. Mm-hmm. You know, when people come to the beach, for instance, you know, most of our concerts are on the beach. Beautiful beaches, beautiful parks, from Central Park in New York City to Santa Monica Beach. Beautiful. When they come and they bring their blanket and their beach chair and their picnic, they come up the stairs, they come on the beach, I hear them and they go, oh, wow, look at this.
The flowers.
There's flowers, there's a grand piano, there's flags, there's colors, there's lights, it's the ocean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, the sunset. So the first thing they're seeing MindTravel is number one. Then they're hearing it, and then they're feeling it. So that was an important discovery for me, to understand how people are relating to the experience. And then they're taking a picture, they're taking a video, and then they put it, you know, on their social media. Oh, we repost it. Okay, now we're all sharing. The other thing we do at the end of every concert, there's hundreds of flowers on the beach, right? By the piano. We give everybody a flower. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. We give everybody a flower as a gift at the end. So now everyone leaves. They just had, hopefully, a wonderful experience. They feel their heart. They feel connected. And they have they have flowers now with them. What are they going to do? They go home. They put it in a vase. And now, for 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, they have a reminder every day of this experience, of the feeling of connection. This flower is reminding them. A lot of them will take a picture of the flower and post it and tag us, and so now it has a life after the concert. And we get to all share this connection, and this feeling, it's a tale, they arrive, it has a peak, and then there's a tail for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, then they come again.
Nuevamente, entonces, las redes sociales, tú creas esa conexión, haces que la gente se sienta identificado y cuente su historia también, e interactúe con tus redes sociales, lo cual es muy importante ahora. ¿Qué pasa cuando ya vas creando todo este proceso, ya tienes toda la marca bien puesta? ¿Cuál ha sido el momento en el que has dicho, ahora sí me siento aquí súper exitoso? ¿Es con MindTravel? ¿Es con alguna de tus otros emprendimientos? ¿Dónde ha sido el momento en el que te has sentido más exitoso de tu carrera profesional?
Oh my gosh. I remember in 1998, I was 27 years old, and we took the company public. That was the day we went public, IPO. It was an amazing day. And it was me and my brother, and my father came for the first trade, to witness the first trade, to see when it started trading. And it was a very successful day. And seeing his face, for many years, he didn't understand what we did, He's like, well, internet, technology, And he said, okay, good luck. I wish you luck, but okay. He didn't really understand. And that day, he understood. He's like, okay. And it was a very special day, for family connection. And also this idea of, the American dream. And now we're the third generation. So my grandfather came to this country by ship at 15 years old with nothing in his pocket and landed in Ellis Island in New York City, Statue of Liberty, right? And then built a family from nothing. My father took over the business with his brothers. And now me and my brother, we're starting our own company. And now here we are taking it public, which is every entrepreneur's dream to do. And we were doing it so young, we were very lucky. So that was a wonderful moment. But that was a moment of connecting with family, with the generations. It was very personal. If I go to where my life is now every day, almost every day, I have a concert, 150 concerts a year. And at the end of each concert, people come up and they share what's on their heart. They share what's on their mind, their story, and how this music, this experience is helping them. There's no better feeling in the world. So this is the most fulfilling time for me. Most of our lives, we look at success, like we said earlier. How much can I get to fill this hole, to fill me? Then we realize, actually, when we start giving more, right, we become more fulfilled. And that's the truth. That's what it's been like for me. And it keeps me going because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of travel, it's a lot of effort, but it's so much love, and it gives me more than I even put out. So to me, that's the greatest success. When we think about the word, words like legacy, right? When people, right, they think about that, what's my legacy going to be? Meaning, how are people going to remember me? How am I going to be remembered, my life, my effort? Some people like to put their name on a building. To me, legacy is what is sitting in someone's heart about you. And how many people did you affect their mind, their heart? So your legacy is in them, right? It's not in me, and it's not on any building. So to me, that's what legacy is.
Y ahora vamos a dejar un legado mucho más grande, porque creo que todas las personas que nos están viendo ahora pueden entender cuál es el trabajo, lo que se requiere para tener éxito, la conexión mente, alma, cuerpo, el ser entregado, el ser bondadoso, el el dar para poder recibir. Y sobre todo me ha encantado esta parte que donde tú dices que el éxito en tu vida se ha visto reflejado con el orgullo de tu papá, con la satisfacción de ver la sonrisa en las personas, con ver que ahora tu vida se ha vuelto significante. Entonces creo que ese es el verdadero recorrido de todo un proyecto, de todo un proyecto de vida, en donde eres reconocido, tienes tu éxito, pero tienes esa paz de poder dar al mundo más.
Yeah. You know, I remember learning that the best companies are the ones that create the most value for someone else. Right? The best companies are not the ones who create the most value for themselves, for shareholders, profit. No, the profit comes from creating value for others, right? That's the formula. So if we only think every day we wake up and we're like, how can I create more value for somebody else? Then we are going to create something that is going to be very successful, because if you're creating value for someone, they will pay you for that.
Exactamente.
Period. It's very simple. So it's not what is it that I can create that's going to be cool? What can I create that's going to be new? What can I create? No, it's what can I create that is going to be valuable? Because if it's new and cool and it's not really that much more valuable,
¿Cómo va a ayudar
it's a trend.
esto?
Maybe it's a trend, pop, pop, gone. But to have something really valuable and meaningful, that's how you build a really good company.
That's true.
Slow and steady. It doesn't have to be instant, you know?
Exactly.
MindTravel was like that, really. It took many years, many years. In the beginning, I would sometimes play and it was an empty room. 2 people, 10 people, 5 people. And I was like, oh, maybe this is not a good idea. I don't know. I said, no, I think people, and no, it's different, but I think people will eventually come. And I kept doing it. And now we get 500, 1,000 people that come to the concert. So, you know, each time. So you just have to believe that what you're creating is going to be valuable.
¿Cómo manejas el tiempo? ¿Cuántos conciertos al año?
150 concerts per
150
year.
conciertos. Prácticamente tienes una agenda apretada por todo el año. ¿Cómo lo manejas? ¿Cómo manejas esa parte de estrés? ¿Cómo llegas a más gente? ¿Cómo lo haces?
The most important part is having a good team. So, you know, every good leader, every good entrepreneur focuses on their team, you know?
Pero todo entrepreneur también empieza solo y lo hace todo solo.
I know.
¿Cuándo es el momento perfecto de tener un equipo?
I know, it's a tough question. In the beginning, I was in bed making the ticket page, you know, like in bed. You know, we do everything ourselves in the beginning. But that's important because then you know how everything works. So you know how to do it. You know how to do it fast. You know how to do it well. You know how to do it inefficient. You know how to do it efficient. So it's important to have your hands in every part of the business. But then it's important to say, okay, what could I be doing with this time if I wasn't doing this, right? If I spend 1 hour every day doing this task, can I hire someone to do it? Maybe not 100%, maybe 85%. It's good enough. That's the difficult thing for an entrepreneur because we tend to be perfectionists. But okay, if they can do it 85%, 90%, it's good enough. Because now my time, I have now a free hour, 2 hours that I can be growing in some new way. So that's the way I think about it. You know, what's the opportunity cost?
Un emprendedor debe aprender a soltar al bebé un poco. Como tú dices, es totalmente cierto. Me has dejado con esa imagen de que es como cuando tienes hijos. Tienes que impulsarles a crecer y no les quieres dejar, pero tampoco los puedes devolver.
Exactly.
Entonces,
we have to let go of everything is going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Once we accept, it's not going to be like we did it. Because no one's going to love it like you love it. Okay, so if we accept that, it's okay if it's 85, 90%. Get it a little better. You can keep increasing a little bit, 92%, 93%. Okay, but it's not going to be like you did it. But if you do everything, you'll never grow and achieve what you want to achieve. So that's the trade-off, you know? It's not right or wrong. It's just, what do you want? Do you want it to be successful and do you want to grow? Then you have to take something and give it to someone else at the right time.
Y ahora, casi para terminar esto, ¿qué tan importante es la inversión en uno mismo? En invertir en uno mismo, porque ahora te venden cursos de AI, de que si quieres hacer tu propio logo, tu propio video, todo tú puedes hacerlo tú solo. Pero es muy difícil también para el emprendedor decir, bueno, voy a invertir en esto porque me va a enseñar esto, porque al mismo tiempo este dinero lo voy a usar para otra cosa. ¿Cuál sería el consejo que tú le das a todos los emprendedores que nos están mirando para saber cuál es tu prioridad y en qué momento hacerlo?
You know, most of the things we can learn are actually free. You know, new technology comes out, everything with AI. It's important to play with the technology. It's important to try it yourself, to use it, to see it, to touch it, to feel it, to experience it, to see, interact with it. That's the best way that we learn. And then, when it comes to, it's always good to learn going to conferences, taking courses. What I do is I listen to other people I know, see what they do, what they recommend. Because if someone did it and recommends it, that's always better, It's a little bit safer. They already did it, so that's always good. But a lot of it could be done free, and read reviews. Just always read reviews, because people these days will tell you their experience with it, So it's important to also do your research.
Es exactamente eso, es muy cierto. Cuando tú quieres, es una frase que me ha impactado mucho y que me gusta, que si tú quieres alcanzar el éxito, mira cómo está actuando, cómo lo llevó la otra persona. Puedes seguir sus pasos, cambiar el concepto y tu producto en el proceso, pero puedes implementarlo. Por eso es este programa, para que la gente pueda verlo, lo que tú estás haciendo, el éxito que tú has venido formando, y tú puedas ser una guía para ellos, que estoy segurísima que en realidad ha sido una hora bastante productiva. Creo que a mí me ha llenado la cabeza de ideas, y espero que a todas las personas también que nos están mirando. Para terminar, ¿qué te parece si les damos unas herramientas o unos consejos a todos los emprendedores que nos están viendo para llegar a ese camino al éxito, para sentir esto que tú estás sintiendo ahora, el sentirse exitoso en la vida, y sobre todo hablar de la parte de ser significante en la vida?
This idea of investing in yourself. Something that's so important is being able to hold a mirror, looking back at yourself and saying, what are my blind spots? Where can I improve? What are my weaknesses? It's difficult to do, but it's very, very important. So, for instance, from technical skill, I know, I'm weak here, let me hire someone. Again, doesn't have to be full-time, could be part-time, not expensive, but someone to do where I'm not so good at that. If there's areas of leadership, let me take a course, read a book. Let me learn more so that I can improve myself. When I started MindTravel, I gave myself 2 rules. The first rule was always keep the experience true to what worked for me when I was alone at home, right? Meaning don't chase what I think people want. And that's a very challenging thing because, we even say, listen to the customer. Surveys, constantly talk to the customer. You learn what they want and then make what they want. And yes, there's a place for that. But nobody knew that people wanted the iPhone before Steve Jobs came up with it. He saw what people were going to need before they knew they needed it. So if you ask what people need, they would have told you the BlackBerry. I want a keyboard and a thing in it, right? I remember back then, it was amazing. And then the iPhone came out, and I'm like, no keyboard. This is terrible. And now, do you see any devices with a keyboard? No, it's a screen keyboard, but not a physical keyboard. But you have to believe you know what the next thing is. So for me, MindTravel has always been, what is the experience that I know works, even if people aren't ready for it, because they grow into it. And the second rule was keep it fun as much of the time as possible. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure, the stress. Oh my God, we have to cancel the show. There's a storm. Okay. But overall, keep it fun and enjoyable, because that's what we're here for. We're here to experience joy, right? Through our work, right? Through what we're creating. So those were the two rules. And one of the best decisions I ever made for my own growth was, I said, if I'm going to be out there playing, I want to continue to improve my skills. Yes, I went to school, but that was a long time ago, And for many years, I wasn't practicing every day. I was running a company. Okay, I was playing, but not professionally playing hours and hours a day. So when I went back to music, I said, let me treat this like an athlete treats their career. You look at the best athletes in the world, and athletics is a great metaphor for everything we do in business. It's performance, excellence, right? Discipline. And I said, look at all these athletes, the best in the world. Roger Federer. You take any athlete in any sport, they all have what? Full-time coaches. What do they need a coach for? They're the best in the world. That's why they're the best in the world, because they have coaches, people that are pushing them and giving them new ways to think about it. They're learning, they're growing, new skills. I said, why shouldn't I think about music in the same way, like an athlete does? Why doesn't a musician have a coach? Not just in school, but for always. And that's the approach I took. So I reached back out to my old teacher from many years earlier. And he was also ready for a life change. He was teaching and, he had a nice life, but he was ready for something new. Okay. And so I moved him. And I moved him into my house, into an extra bedroom. And every day we would play. It was having a full-time live-in coach. And it was the best thing I ever did, because I am collaborative. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, even though we're individuals and solo, we do things, we actually like collaboration. We thrive in collaboration. The right kind of people, the right kind of collaboration. So to me, that was very powerful and effective, because every day I knew I had a time to sit with him and work. If it was just me, it's a little easier to keep the TV on. It's a little easier to go out and have dinner with friends, right? It's a little easier to find an excuse. But when you have someone there keeping you accountable, right? That's what a coach does also. It's just the discipline of doing it every day. And that was critical. And then my playing ability went to another level. So, everything is investment and sacrifice. Where do we want to invest, and what are we giving up for that? So yes, it was less dinners out with friends. It was less vacations. It was less chill time. And it was more, work time. But what was the benefit of that? Phenomenal benefit. So that's the trade-off we all have to make, and everyone has a different balance of it, So anyway, that was a very important choice for me.
No, y muy valioso tu aporte, en realidad muy interesante. Ahora todo el mundo puede entender por qué tú eres parte del Club de las Mentes Brillantes. Ha sido una experiencia gratificante. Muchas gracias, de verdad, de todo corazón. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Yo me quedo con toda esta energía, conocimiento y todo, y espero que ustedes lo sepan disfrutar al máximo. Y recuerden que la información que no toma acción se queda solamente en entretenimiento. Gracias, Murray.
Thank you.
Gracias por compartir tu tiempo con nosotros. Recuerda que la información sin acción es solo entretenimiento. Suscríbete, síguenos, deja tu comentario y comparte. Toma acción de tu vida. Haz que suceda. Nos vemos en el próximo episodio de DC Business Incubator, el club de las mentes brillantes.